Okay. So we're recording the master class as usual, and this is me, Dr. Sami Hamdil Jalil, and this is EA300B, and this is our third class, I guess. So what do we have on the agenda for this lovely morning? It's voices in the park. We've been talking a bit about, I mean, in our different classes, obviously, about voices in the park. So what more can we say about it? We're going to kind of sum up the whole idea and talk about the different contours of this picture book in terms of its postmodernity, in terms of its anthropomorphistic aspects, and a lot more. But before we do just that, I would like to ask you whether you guys have read, those who have read the text, and I was asking if they have revisited the text with the insights that we've been providing all through. I'm sure the experience will be different. There is going to be, I mean, things that you haven't seen when you first read it. Now you know how to read it. Now you know how to kind of unlock its different clues and cues and codes, right? So I would like to hear from you. Again, like I said, master classes should be bi-directional. It shouldn't be me monopolizing the talk and you guys, you've been doing enough listening over the years. But it's time to shine. It's time to come out and say what you have to say. And we're not judging, we're not taxing. Come to the mic and share. This is all we want. So perhaps to encourage you, we're going to start with Joyce. Joyce has initiative, and I think she has a lot to share with us this morning. Joyce, what do you have to say about the whole Voices in the Park experience so far? If any. So obviously, Joyce, can you hear us? Okay. Like if Joyce is not perhaps ready yet, can we have somebody else? We have lots of other brilliant colleagues. We have whom I can recognize most of the names. I know that some of
Can you
you.
hear me now, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can hear you now, Joyce. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you hear my question?
Because my audio is disabled.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I heard you, doctor. You're asking us
Mm.
about the whole experience and stuff when we read
Yes.
this story.
Yeah, the different, the
Yeah,
different impressions that you
yeah,
took away, your takeaways, things that you're likely not to forget, perhaps for the rest of your life. I mean, yeah, you know it all,
yeah, doctor.
Joyce. Yeah.
From the very beginning, like when I read it, like at the beginning, okay, yeah, I saw these gorillas, I saw the park, I saw it, like it wasn't as exciting as Peter the rabbit. Okay, but the problem is, like at the beginning, okay, I saw the setting is different, the colors are a bit darker, and then different voices. So at the beginning, it wasn't that very exciting, to be honest. But once we started reading it and we saw the details and the hidden messages, no, it's totally different. It's actually more interesting now than Peter Rabbit story, because all of the hidden messages, all the colors, the shift in, and you have the same experience, but experienced by four different people, and each one of them is looking at it from a different perspective. Of course, shaped with their status, with their perspectives of the others, their age as well, the economical state. Course, like the mom at the beginning, you can tell she's controlling the kid from the very beginning. And the way she goes to the park, it's not just for fun, it's like an obligation. Like yeah, I have to go to the park because it's part of the schedule, because I need everything in order. I need everything to be set in a certain way. And then the boy, he has to follow his mom or he's gonna suffer. It was so obvious that she is controlling him. And of course, the images when they shift, like when the lady looked at the guy who's sitting next to her, at the dog, at the girl, the way she described them, it was like, yeah, she's looking down at them because, yeah, she's a high status woman, and this guy maybe is a working class dude and he's not of the same status as her. So, yeah, the way she looked at them, it was like, okay, yeah, we have this in our society. We, like this, the whole experience, yeah. When you have the high class, how they look down at the working class, how the kids get controlled by their parents, how a girl can actually change how she can change the mood of her father when he's down, and how
Which
kids
is
get
obviously not
along.
typical. I mean, not in life. I know how loving and how caring girls are. I'm talking about the typical image that we have of a girl in children's literature and also in
Definitely,
mainstream
definitely.
literature. It's different, right?
Definitely. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, yeah.
mm,
Normally, it's the boy who's doing all these stuff, initiating the talk, playing, how he looks at things from like, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. I'm a boy at the end of the day. But here things were shifted, like it's the way around. The girl is
yeah.
looking at, yeah, as if the
Mm,
boy is the girl and the girl is the boy. Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. And of course, the images are very important here because they reflect what's happening. Like when the mom is
Yeah.
screaming and how the trees are moving, how the boy is gloomy and all the colors are gloomy around him, how the girl sees things like the trees and the stuff turning into vegetables and
Yeah. Yeah.
fruits and stuff. So, yeah, there are a lot of things. Like, of course, when we read it the second time, it was totally different than the first time. We noticed tons of details and all of the hidden messages and the symbols and the statues and King Kong in the
Yeah.
background and all these stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce, for those very beautiful insights. Yeah, I'm still interested in seeing how people look at Voices in the Park, and I like it when Joyce started to make those comparisons between The Tale of Peter Rabbit and Voices in the Park. I mean, looking at the differences, how complex Voices in the Park is, in spite of the fact that when you look at it يعني from afar, it's just another I mean, a kind of picture book. It doesn't tell much. I mean, nothing actually happens in terms of plot development, if we can say that there is a plot, right? But there is obviously more than meets the eye than just that, right? It's deeper than that, as you can see. Um, okay, who else would like to tell us more about Voices in the Park? If Wissam is ready, I know Wissam is serious about these things. Wissam, what do you have to say about the whole experience, Voices in the Park, in the park, um, and its perhaps postmodern aspects? What makes it postmodern, if we can call it a postmodern piece of work? Remember, it was published in the early 2000s. I mean, it was published in 1999, I think, which makes it, postmodern par excellence, right? So what more can we say about it? What makes it, let me pose this kind of question. What makes it postmodern? Is it the plot? Is it the characters? Is it the themes and the issues? What do you think? Come to the mic, share with us what you know, and perhaps what you don't know. That's fine too. Or should I consider silence a statement in and of itself? Perhaps you didn't like it as much. Hmm. Come to the mic.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, Noor, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what makes Voices in the Park postmodern because it follows a linear, straightforward plot because Voices in the Park is fragmented into different voices. Readers must piece together the full story, making
Mm,
it an active, non-traditional reading experience.
mm. Yeah, that's this idea of non-linearity. Yeah, it's not linear. It doesn't move from the past and then at the present and then on or into the future. This is not happening at all. Again, the idea that you have different voices, different narrators. We're so used to the idea of having one single narrator and he or she dominates the whole thing, right? Obviously, we're not taken hostages by one single perspective. We have a multiplicity of perspective. We have four, right? I don't know whether that would add beauty to it. I mean, I don't want to spoil it for you and impose and influence your views of it. I think somebody was writing something. Yeah, would you like to come to the mic and share what you wrote? Whoever, let me see in the chat. I'm sorry I can't speak. I'm kind of in a working office at this hour. This is Wissam. We appreciate what you're going through, Wissam. Don't worry. Okay, طيب. Munira, would you like to come to the mic and share something?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, hi,
The
how are you?
how are you? Yes, the picture have a lot of details and inter-picture quality in it. We
Mm-hmm.
can see a lot of things and also some irony have their picture because comparing the view of the father and the
Mm-hmm.
daughter together, they are like comparison. Even
Mm-hmm.
the Santa Claus, we know all the Santa Claus is a symbol of bringing joy, but in the father's side, you see it's become like a homeless, like a beggar.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and have the two pictures for the Mona Lisa and have another one. In the daughter view, they are come to life, they are dancing.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
also we can take a lot from the word. Not even they tell exactly what this, but we can take feeling from the word. Like for
Mm-hmm.
the mother view, when she is taking care of her dad first and her son, because she's making the first this beginning when she tell when they go to the park, she mentioned the dog first, then her second becomes then the son becomes the second. We can take a lot that when she's taking care of the dog before her son because she's making the dog first. And compared to the father when he mentioned the daughter first, then the dog.
Yeah. That's
Yes,
interesting.
from here we can take yes feeling this one from the kid. They are not telling the word this one exactly the father taking care, but we can feel they are making insightful things to make us with them and interact with them.
Yeah. Great. MashaAllah. Thank you, Munira, for those
Okay.
lovely nuggets that you're sharing with us. If anything, it shows us that you guys, when you engage with the text, very serious with the text, you come up with so many beautiful things. Again, you can always relate to your experience in life. This is what literature is all about. It's about this give and take between the reader and the work. And this is exactly what you're doing. You're trying to decipher whatever mysteries, you try to unlock them. And actually, they're not mysteries. They are like kind of clues and codes that you now are able to kind of unlock, given the fact that we have given this kind of foundation when we spoke about Mobius and his different interpretations of what goes on and on the page, especially if we're talking about drawings and stuff. Again, you would also add this postmodern layer to it, the fact that the way you dealt with the Tale of Peter Rabbit is obviously different because the perspective would be different because of the times then in each story was written in. Remember When we talk about the tale of Peter Rabbit, we talk about it as a Victorian product, reflecting the values of the Victorian age. You're talking about conservativity, you're talking about linearity, you're talking about one single narrator that takes us hostage. I mean, deciding what kind of reaction we should have and stuff like that. In Voices in the Park, and I mean, obviously the experience is different given the fact that the time is different. We're talking about a postmodern product where nothing holds anymore. Everything is challenged. Orthodoxies are challenged. Narrative strategies are challenged. So this is perhaps what makes it more endearing and more exciting and more likable for most of us. Okay, so whenever we talk about Voices in the Park, there are three fundamentals that I keep talking about: the idea of postmodernism, the idea of anthropomorphism, and also the idea of intertextuality. So these are these are very important. And this is how you should approach Voices in the Park. So intertextuality, this is something that Munira referred to. And we spoke about intertextuality, the idea that in a work of art, you're referencing another work. And we're perhaps familiar with verbal intertextuality, where obviously the focus is on referencing other texts. But in Voices in the Park, we have what we call visual intertextuality, where there is an added dimension, the idea that paintings and statues and cinematic figures are recalled, are invoked, are given reference to in Voices in the Park. So intertextuality is there, and it is a function and a feature of the postmodern times. I mean, postmodern texts, whether they are mainstream, novels, plays, or this brand of literature that we now call picture books, are replete with intertextual references. Again, whether the reader is going to get that, given the fact that the reader is primarily a child. This has been much debated. Lots of people and scholars are talking about the idea of whether the child can understand this, can get the clues that we're giving him if we're referring to other books or other paintings. And of course, his lifespan is very, he has been in life for a limited time, and he's a child after all. And again, that would also bring us to the idea of what the purposes are. And I'm talking about the author. Does he want to educate, or does he want to entertain, or perhaps he wants to do both? So these are some of the big questions that people ask. Again, intertextuality is all over the place, and you need to dig deep and think of those intertextual references that we have, and you need to think of their significance, because I mean, obviously the author didn't choose just any painting or any statue or any cinematic figure. No, he meant it when he used King Kong, for example, and no other cinematic figure. He meant it when he used the Mona Lisa in a certain way. See? So you need to engage with those kinds of references and think of their implications and significance, because they mean a lot. So this is intertextuality, and we said that the text is highly intertextual. Also the idea of anthropomorphism. Remember, anthropomorphism is something that you can track back to Aesop, if you still remember. We had this lovely article when we did the Tale of Peter Rabbit on Aesop, and there was a reference. I think the article's title was uh, in the shadows, or Aesop's shadows, something along these lines. So what I'm trying to say is that the text that we're having is also anthropomorphic, and of all the animals that you can think of, we have gorillas. Is it meant? Is it by design, or is it mere coincidence that of all the animals we have gorillas? Actually, it was meant. We will, this is what we have found from the interviews that Brown gave. We realized that he has this affinity for animals, like everybody else, obviously, and he also have those passions for gorillas, for their perhaps sheer volume, because obviously his father was manly enough, and he has this very strong bond, this bonding relationship with his father. So gorillas that we're having that would link the text to anthropomorphism, and it's the qualities of human beings that we have as shared by those kinds of animals. They hate, they love, they are snobbish, they are conscious of the different classes. Again, you would ask, why anthropomorphism in the first place? Why would people use them, and why would Brown use anthropomorphism? And we said that they give us some kind of neutrality. They kind of neutralize us, if you like. With animals, you wouldn't have those biases that you normally have for other human beings, sometimes for no obvious reasons. You just feel biased towards somebody or against somebody. So Brown was so tactful, or too tactical, to try to kind of avoid that by having animals and not human beings. Again, because of the issues that he is addressing. Remember, we're talking about class issues. We are talking about a highly stratified society where you have layers and you have levels, and people have to stick to their level and stage or station in life, whether you're aristocrat or middle class, or from the ranks of the lower classes. So in order, and you as a reader is one of those. You're either high class or middle class or low class. So if you're seeing characters behaving and one of them happens to be high class and you're not high class yourself, you would have your animosities and biases against that. That would cloud your judgment. You wouldn't be able to give a fair and a square kind of judgment towards this character, because you are influenced by the grievances that you take with you against those people in high places. Correspondingly, if you're a reader who is high class or an aristocrat, and you see the main character behaving in a certain way, and he or she is is middle class or lower class, you would also transfer your biases and the biases of your class against them. You would be acting towards those characters in a snobbish way. You wouldn't admit even the fact that they are in a kind of protagonists. Why should they be protagonists? They don't belong to the aristocratic class and stuff like that. So again, the idea of having animals as characters is some kind of safety net. It allows it provides the necessary safeguards against bias and prejudice, class bias and prejudice. So again, anthropomorphism is there. It features very prominently in Voices in the Park. So again, intertextuality and anthropomorphism, and above all else, postmodernism. And again, when you talk about postmodernism in this piece of work, because it's a byproduct of that era, you think of all the characteristics and the features of the postmodern. Remember, we talk about non-linearity, the fact that you don't have one single trajectory for the piece of work. You don't move from the past to the present to the future. This is linear, and this is what we're used to in mainstream literature. But this time around, because it's a postmodern piece of work, it's non-linear. And non-linearity is also very clear when you get to know that we have four different narrators. We have four different voices. So you're not taken hostage by one single voice or one single narrator giving you what he or she thinks is the right way of thinking about things. So we don't have that. We're not limited to one single perspective. Again, because when we talk about the postmodern, we talk about the idea or the fall and the decline and the collapse of what we call meta narratives and grand narratives. We don't have those kind of uh, standardized ways of assessment. You don't have rigid rules that you apply always and everywhere. We don't have that in the postmodern. And that applies very much to Voices in the Park, where, like we said, you don't have linearity, you don't have one single vision or one single perspective or viewpoint. Also, you have this idea of destabilization, where everything is shifting, everything, meaning is not stable. Every time you read the picture book, you come up with new ideas, and they may even diametrically the previous night if you read it the previous night. So again, the meaning is shifting, and this is actually a feature of the postmodern, challenging orthodoxies and grand narratives. One of those grand narratives would be the idea that you have to have one single voice or one single point of view, which is not happening here. Again, it's simply because, according to the postmodern scholars and people, truth is up for grabs. Everything is now subjective. Nothing is absolute. So if nothing is absolute, so I'm entitled to my viewpoint and the way I think about things. So Voices in the Park reflects this kind of diversity in opinion and viewpoints. Again, it's a feature of the post modern. What else from the postmodern that we can see? I mean, this idea of reversal of roles. Again, this is challenging a long-held belief that in literature, men are muscular, men are assertive, men, and of course boys, if it's children's literature, should have the upper hand, should be louder, should take matters into their hands. They are the ones who embark on journeys of initiation, and they emerge always victorious. They can say no, they can be disobedient, and they get away with it. So this is the received idea of what a work of art should go, what literature should look, where men assume bigger roles, and women are of course, relegated to the background, women and girls. They were supposed, they were not supposed to have voices of their own. They were not supposed to be assertive, and this is what we have seen in, if you still remember, in the tale of Peter Rabbit. This time around, we have this reversal of rules kind of thing, where reversal of gender roles. We have this gender confusion or fluidity, where you have a girl, you know, very assertively. She has a mind of an independent mind. She initiates things, and you have a boy who is acting contrary to what we expect of a boy. He is very weak. He is very he is dominated by his mom, obviously. He doesn't even think that he has a future or he has prospects in life. Again, you would think of the woman. Perhaps the power that she has is given to her by her class, but she is a woman after all. And again, she's acting against the nature that people wanted to think women have. The fact that she was also assertive, she was also, powerful, having those independent assessments, whether we agree with her assessments of other people or not, but at least she has a voice and she has a point of view. Again, you have the father of Smudge, and I think it's very significant that he doesn't even have a name, because that the role given and assigned to him is very little in terms of making things move. He is very subdued. He is very he's portrayed as very desperate. He doesn't obviously have work, and if you have work, it justifies our existence. If you don't have work, you have nothing, right? Um, so he is presented as uh, someone that is very far away from the typical image that we have of men. Again, that wouldn't have happened if it's not the postmodern that we're talking about. So we have gender fluidity, we have gender reversal of rules, I promise you, in Voices in the Park. So these are things that you need to kind of ask, kind of from time to time engage with and think about. Again, remember what we said about the layout of Voices in the Park, and said that now in the postmodern, everything matters and counts, even the meta textual elements. When we talk about the cover page and the back cover, when we talk about any side notes, even footnotes at the bottom or at the foot of the page, when we talk about the even the copy rights details on the cover page or in the back cover, we said that these things are very important because they set the right context. They tell you about the context, and you are on your way towards exploring what is happening and making the right connections and establishing the right relationships. Again, that wouldn't happen unless you know those meta textual details that we talk about. Again, because it's like a picture book, the focus, as always, is on the drawings and what the drawings project in terms of meaning and significance. Again, we're talking about the colors used and what they mean. We talk about even their thickness on the page, how thick uh, the color is. We're talking about the shifting of seasons and whether this is significant or not. Of course it is. We're talking about the different contours of the work in terms of certain lines that separates characters and obviously separates their classes and where they come from. Um, we talk about those visual aspects. Remember, it's a picture book, and whatever is visual this time around means a lot, it signifies a lot. So you need to perhaps stop and think of every single aspect of this. Do you have any questions? Because I've been talking for quite some time. And this is not postmodern. If it's postmodern, I shouldn't be talking that much. Fatun is saying, is it possible that a question, let me see, is it possible that a question will come, for example, about the color blue? What does it mean in the story? I mean, will they ask about the symbols used in the story? I think I answered this question before, perhaps in one of my regular classes. I don't ask you, this is not multiple choice questions where I ask you, I'll tell you, what does blue symbolize? And then I give you choices. No, we're not that, we're not that rigid, or we're not that, questions are bigger than that. Remember, you are graduating students. And next semester, you're going to be colleagues, and you're going to be teachers or translators. So you're one step away from becoming, graduates, which means that you're bigger than that. And we're dealing with you along these lines. We know that you're big, but we wouldn't ask you or limit you to a single color. And when we ask you questions, they are normally open, and they are normally about the totality of the color experience. So we give you scope and space so that you can talk about color symbolism, for example. You can talk about seasonal symbolism. So it's we talk to you about the idea of impressionistic art, because colors and seasons and their shifting is under what we call impressionism. The impressions that you get when you have color changing, and you have obviously the colors in the background, and you have the characters, and what kind of mood the characters have if this or that color is used, if we're in this season and not that one. So it's bigger than just a couple of colors, spread here or there. No. So we would ask you about symbolism, would ask you about color symbolism. So, and then you talk about it. You talk about the different colors used and what they mean and what they stand for. And then you talk about how they contribute towards the overall effect that we're having from this picture book. Speaking of questions, the midterm exam is looming, but before the midterm exam, I think we will have quiz one, right? I think it should have been this week, today, but because you haven't finished Voices in the Park totally, and yet with your teachers, we opted not to do it this week, and we're doing it on Thursday next week. I even posted an announcement about just that. The quiz is going to cover, of course, Voices in the Park and The Tale of Peter Rabbit, and it's going to be multiple choice questions. Yeah, and it's, of course, out of 5. And then after that, we'll have the midterm exam. And the midterm exam normally covers not only Voices in the Park and The Tale of Peter Rabbit, but it also includes the other side of truth, which is what we're going to do in our regular classes as of next week. If you ask about what the exam or the midterm exam will look like, it's going to be short answers and, of course, long essays. You will have to answer 2 short answers out of perhaps 3, and in the other part, the long answer questions, you're going to write an essay. We normally give you 2 choices, and you choose to write on one. You write an essay. And of course, the essay part can be a close reading. Close reading means that you can have a text that you try to attempt. You know, we'll talk, of course, we'll have yani kind of MTA revision class, I promise you. Again, what is perhaps new in this course is that close reading is not confined or limited to a text or a passage. You can have even an image from one of the 2 picture books, and you are required to answer it. Sometimes it's mandatory, so it remains to be seen. So you need to know the colors very well, the quotes very well. And again, it's not about spotting those colors and those symbols. It's about telling us what they mean and how they contribute towards the overall experience. Yeah, if you guys have questions, come to the mic. Yes, this is what we're here for. Yeah, Joyce, come to the mic.
Yeah, doctor, I have 2 questions, please. One concerning quiz 1. The essays that are about Peter Rabbit and these stuff are included also. We need to study them, right? It's not just
Yeah,
the 2
yeah.
stories.
No,
Okay,
no, it's
perfect.
not an answer because I'm not going to ask you who did what.
Yes, definitely, yes.
And the significance of things and their symbolism, what they mean and how they mean what they mean are all very important. These are things that you'll find in the secondary sources. Yes.
Okay, another question, please, doctor.
Yes.
To be honest, in part A and part B, I'm a little bit confused about the books. We have the big book, the one that is called Approaches and I forgot what, okay? And there is the guide, and there is another one that has the cover. There's a little girl with blue background or turquoise background.
Yeah.
Which books are we supposed to study? Because I have bits and pieces about every story in every book. So is there a
Well, I
certain
think
order?
I made it accessible to you by even cutting or separating the articles. And every time we have a story or we have a picture book, I tell you, yeah, these are the secondary sources material that we have with us.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't we do that?
Concerning,
Voices,
yes,
yeah.
definitely,
Mm, mm,
definitely, doctor. But my question is in like حتى for part A,
mm.
the problem is
I
with
don't,
with the
yeah.
children's literature. It's a
Mm, mm.
bit confusing. Like you don't have just this book and deal with it. We have bits and pieces from everywhere. But is there a
Uh,
certain like order
yeah,
we're supposed to
we,
focus
we
on?
remember this. I don't remember the color. I remember when I referred you to, unfortunately, I'm not at the university now, I'm at home. Remember when I showed you my desktop and we went to folders that I created for the course, and one of them had this big book that has so many articles in it. Um, uh, I don't remember the color, but I'm going to share, perhaps I need to kind of reshare it with you.
Yes, please,
And this
doctor.
is the book that we're using, along with the other articles that I'm talking about. So let me check or double check on the colors and let you know.
Please,
Yeah,
please,
no
doctor. Yes,
problem,
because
no
it's a
problem.
bit confusing. Last
Uh,
question, please.
um,
Concerning
mm,
the midterm, the short
yeah.
answer questions, how many words?
just approximately? Are we limited to a certain number? Because in previous courses we used to have like 100, 150 to 200 per short question. Now, is it true it's just 50 to 100, or is it okay if we write more than that?
No, I wouldn't turn it into another essay because you have essays obviously awaiting you in the long answer questions, right? But
Yes, definitely.
I wouldn't be happy if you write a paragraph, a small paragraph, because obviously it wouldn't be enough. With short answers, what do we want? We want you to identify if it's a theme or idea. We need you to define it. We need you to give us examples from the text, right? We need
Definitely.
you sometimes to add your perspective on something. So three very important things wouldn't be covered in a small paragraph. So if you
Definitely,
write
yes.
a very small paragraph, that wouldn't give me enough insights into who you are and how and your experience. So half a page would be my minimum. If you write more, that's fine. But how much is much, right? So if you write half a page or perhaps three quarters of a page, that would be more than enough. But not a paragraph, not a small paragraph, because that wouldn't say much about you and about even the question. Because obviously we choose questions that are significant, that are pregnant with ideas. It's not just another, we think very seriously and deeply about the questions that we ask. So half a page or perhaps three quarters of a page would be fine.
Okay,
Let's say,
perfect, doctor.
yeah,
Thank you so
if you're
much.
convincing enough, and if you know you're not going to digress and you're going to stay uh, on topic and you want to write a page, that's fine too, but not more, right?
Sure, doctor. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, yes, good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Mm. Question? Okay. So about the sources, um, for Voices in the Park, we have a number of sources. One of them is, remember, my YouTube channel where you can have, I have this archive that has all the masterclass sessions of the past couple of semesters, and they are still relevant and they still apply. If you're ahead of yourself, you can always go there and start. You don't have to wait for your teacher, obviously. What else? We have this nice documentary, this AI generated documentary that I showed you, and some of you said that it's too long. I think it was Wissam or something. Yeah, but it covers everything. It's very comprehensive. Did you go there? Do you know? Would you like me to share the link again? Hmm, raise your hand. Are you familiar with this? Okay, let me share it again and see. Yeah, I'm sharing the link in the chat box. Okay, so this is the link to Voices in the Park, and let me share the link of the entire playlist of um, EA300. And this is the link to the entire course. You can also, like I said, if you're ahead of yourself, you can always go and study from there. Um, okay, so we'll take a 5-minute break, and when we come back, we can talk more. Let's make it 10 minutes. When we meet again, inshallah, we can talk more about it. Perhaps we can start the other story or the other novel, which is The Other Side of Truth. See you in 10 minutes, inshallah. Hello, we're back. Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Good. Okay. Bushra, are you with us? But you don't belong to my class, right? Bushra Khalid, right?
Yes, I'm with Dr. Mahsen.
Okay, I know you from before, right? And also Hind. Hind is keeping a very low profile. I don't know. She was active at the beginning. Hind, can you hear us, yeah,
Yes,
Hind?
doctor.
Yeah,
Yes,
hi. Are you
I'm
sick or
just,
something?
yes, that's why
La
I'm
alf,
keeping low profile.
la alf salama. But it has been
Allah
perhaps 2
يسلمك.
weeks now.
Yes, my health was not really that well.
ألف سلام عليك والله.
Allah يسلمك.
Okay, طيب. What are we doing now? We're migrating, and actually what we're going to talk about is about migration and immigration. We're migrating to the other side of truth. And the other side of truth is a novel. It's not a picture book, I promise you. We've been doing picture books for quite some time. So now we're back to novels, full-fledged novels. Again, it's a children's book and it's a children's literature novel, which means that ostensibly it is targeting children, but does it really target children? This is what we're going to see, and this is what is going to unfold as we proceed. So when I drop the title, does it invoke anything? Does it evoke anything? Are you familiar with it? Have you read it before when I say the other side of truth? Have you, by any chance, read it, heard about it? Hmm? Okay, which is fine. Again, this is new, and yeah, and the whole experience, the experience of reading children's literature is obviously new because you're so used to mainstream literature that targets adults, right? So anyway, we're back to novels, and novels is something that we've been doing over the years. So we're expecting, of course, characters, we're expecting a plot, we're expecting a narrator, complications and conflicts, and eventually we are expecting themes and ideas, and so the other side of truth. Let's think of the title, even if we don't have a clue what this novel is and is about. We can almost tell from the title. Let's unpack the title before we talk about the background, before we talk about what kind of book it is in terms of its context, time, and place. When I say the other side of truth, what comes to your mind? Let's unpack the title. Think. What are we expecting?
The
Yeah,
fact or the truth?
excuse me? Yeah, let's have
The,
Munira and then, yeah, go ahead, ya Bushra. You're saying something.
the truth,
Hmm. What
the
about it?
fact.
Yeah, you mean it's going to be about truth and facts, fact checking, perhaps? Yeah. Okay, nice. Munira,
And
because you
also
were raising, yeah.
going and have a story these things will not become like they're supposed to be. There is a conflict is coming up between corrupt and don't like the truth being said.
Yeah, this is an aspect. And the idea of suppressing the truth. Yeah, and there is a measure of suppression. You're correct. Yeah, but obviously there is more than that, as we're going to see. Yeah.
Another story behind it.
Yeah,
A
there
lot
is,
is coming to happen.
yes. Perhaps everyone has his own story, right? I mean, if we talk about the self-same issue, everyone can have his own perspective. Remember, we're talking about a time when nothing is or seems absolute. Um, when nothing is absolute, you have your own truth, your own story to tell. You look at things from your own perspective. Serious, because everything is going to be relative and up for grabs. Again, but we, of course, we agree. Eventually, we agree on a number of cores. There are principles that we don't normally negotiate, and we shouldn't, obviously. So the other side of truth, it means that perhaps we have different sides of truth. Your side of the story, your side of truth, and mine. Perhaps it's about what you see, what you perceive as truthful, and what is actually there. Okay, so this is the title, The Other Side of Truth. Again, I don't want to spoil it. Um, but perhaps if I talk about the themes involved, the ideas, that wouldn't be spoiling it for you. Because remember what I keep saying, that you need to read the primary source, the text, before you embark on any analysis or any research. So you don't go and read the secondary sources unless and until you have read the primary source. This is what we agreed on, and I'm trying to keep to it. So I'm not going to spoil it by telling you what the plot is about and what goes inside. Now, this is something that I will leave you to do, and we'll talk about it next time when you have started doing it even in your regular class. But perhaps it wouldn't harm if we explore the themes and the topics that the novel is. Let me tell you that it's a traditional novel in its structure, where you're going to have clear chapters, where you're going to have linearity, things that happen in the past, and then we're talking about the present, and then we have flashbacks to the past. This is something we're familiar with. There is obviously nothing strange about that. But perhaps what is unfamiliar would be the themes and the topics, and unfamiliar because we're not used to that. We're used to 19th century stuff, early 20th century stuff, where things are obviously very stable. But this time around, because the novel is also postmodern, but it doesn't show any postmodernity in the technical sense. It is postmodern in its themes and ideas. When we talk about the idea of immigration, when we talk about this concern for children and their well-being, when we talk about this bond that we, the kind of upbringing we give to them, whether we make the right choices, and where where should we start and where should we end when it comes to taking decisions that may adversely affect our kids in the near future or in the future. Obviously, because we believe that they are kids, we don't consult them, and sometimes the decisions that we take are detrimental to their future, in the sense that um, if we talk about jobs, for example, choosing one kind of job and then decline another, um, you know, it's about that. It's about making the right choices at the right time. It's also about media, the media and its power, good or bad, and now how the media can help, and it can also hurt. But perhaps we're focused more on the idea of the media as a tool of empowerment for those um, sectors of society that are at a disadvantage. If we talk about the poor, if we talk about the children, if we talk about those who don't have a voice, especially in third world countries where you don't have freedom of expression, you have this heavy hand of the government interfering in the lives of people and even beyond. So these are all issues that we're going to grab it with. And as you can see, these are all issues that are new. We're not used to them. Who cares about children in 19th century literature, except for Charles Dickens, of course, right? But even with um, Charles Dickens, it is true that he exposes society and the and how society deals with. I mean, he was talking obviously about the poor. No, he wasn't singling out children, because when he singles out children, they grow up over time and things become better and stuff. But perhaps for the first time, we're seeing children taking matters into their own hands, empowered, having a voice. We go and delve deep into the recesses of their psychology and their inner depths and see what they are thinking of. They are very assertive, and they even think about what their parents did and whether the choices that they made were the right ones or not. It's also about. So this is new. When you talk about children's agency, this is something that perhaps unprecedented, because we take kids, our children, for granted. And for so long, we don't ask their opinion. We don't believe that they have opinion in the first place. So these are things that we're discussing here in the other side of it. So it's not that we have one single enemy. The children, we don't have this one single institutional enemy that we call bureaucracy or red tape. No, it's bigger than, or the immigration agencies. It's bigger than that. It's even the parents can be enemies of promise, if you like. When they don't take the right decisions at the right time, they turn into enemies of their own very children, if you like. So this is what we're seeing in the other side of truth. It's about all of that. It's about children's agency and how all the institutions of society, including the institution of family, are failing them, and how at one point they have to go out of their way and take matters into their own hands. And with that, and dishonesty, and how you can sometimes have to be economical with the truth. Being economical with the truth means that sometimes you have to lie. And I wouldn't call it lying. I would, I would call it perhaps maneuvering for a nobler cause. And this is what we're going to see the main character Said doing. She has to be at one point economical with the truth for a nobler purpose and goal, in order to protect her father and his identity, because the consequences would have been dire if she had revealed the identity of her father. We're going to see that, and like I said, I don't want to be on, I don't want to spoil it for you. So it's a lovely piece of work. It's by Naidu. Naidu is a South African writer. And she's white because she's originally a European, of course. But she writes about black people. She was actually a political activist, and when we read her, she is in England as an exile, a political exile. She was like dispelled out of the country during the apartheid regime in the 90s. So again, she has a long list of books that are all about children and the miseries of those kinds of children, and the choices that they have to make, and the difficult life that they have to grapple with on account of their parents' misdirected and wrong-headed guidelines and decisions sometimes. With Naidu, we'll talk about this idea of literacy, the fact that she wants to develop in her readers, who happen to be primarily white, green, or blue-eyed children. She wants to develop in them cultural literacy. She wants to develop in them empathy towards the other, and the other is not their immediate family or their immediate neighbors who happen to be like them, white and green-eyed, and no, she wants them to go beyond the confines and the borders of their own countries and look at other people in other parts of the world, people who are at a disadvantage in Africa and Latin America. She wants them to know that those countries exist, that there are, it's not all honey and milk like they believe because they live a life of privilege. No, she wants them to realize that there are other people in other parts of the world that are suffering and struggling, and she wants to develop in them empathy. And she does not want them to live in isolation, away from the problems and the issues of the world. She wants them to know that this exceptionalism that they think they have or is not true. I mean, the fact that anybody can be exceptional in a good sense. I mean, being smart, being talented, being capable of doing this. So the main character is going to show them that she's more capable when she speaks English, when uh, um, she kind of communicates brightness and smartness in class, and ingenuity and talent. So obviously, one of the messages would be that it doesn't have to, it's not Eurocentric anymore. Anybody can, if given the right circumstances, can make it big and become something. So these are all issues that we're grappling with and that we're talking about in the other side of truth. Again, because I don't want to spoil it for you, I will have to end here. So next time when we meet, I would like you to have read the other side of truth. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. If you guys have any questions, come to the mic before we call it a day.
Doctor, about quiz 2.
Yeah, about quiz 2. What about it? We
Or
still
after
have 2, I don't know yet. But what I know for sure is that before quiz 2 you still have quiz 1 and you have the midterm. Think about them الأول يا بشرى. This is think about them. Yeah, go ahead
Because
أحلام.
here
Yeah, go ahead.
it will be
What?
6 Ramadan.
ايه
6
المشكلة يعني رمضان ما بتعمليش حاجة you never do anything in رمضان عادي حتى لو في رمضان you don't have
لأنه
to
عشان
worry
أكون بعد العيد يعني
مش
حيكون
عارف والله I can't tell yet I'll ask and let you know إن شاء الله يا باشا
شكرا.
you're welcome طيب I think أحلام had a question
No, thank you, doctor. I said I don't have any question for now. So
okay
thank you.
أحلام you're welcome. Any more questions everyone and anyone
No, thank you, doctor.
Okay. طيب on this note and with this item we come to the end of today's lovely master class. Inshallah, I'll see you next week. And I need to remind you that next week we will have quiz 1 and it's going to be on Thursday. Yalla, I'll see you there and then. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Bye bye.
مع السلامة دكتور. شكرا.
Bye, doctor. Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye. Thank you, doctor.